decorating. I'm going to be showing you some of my techniques and styles that I use to decorate wedding cakes and celebration cakes. Now, many cake decorators use different styles and different techniques, so I'm going to show you my way. Hello everyone, today I'm going to be showing you some of the tools that we need for cake decorating. The first thing, the most important thing that you need will be an acrylic board. Now this board is what you roll your moulding paste out on and then cut out your flower shapes. So it's very important that it doesn't have any lines or grooves in the board. This one is completely flat and is made of acrylic. It's around about 1 centimetre deep, and this is the only size you need. You don't need much bigger. Then you're going to need some foam. Now this is quite dense, and what I use that for is I move the flower onto the foam, and with some tools I use it to shape the flower. The next thing you need is a piece of plastic. Now I got this off a shirt box, so it's very easy to come by. If you can't find a shirt box, you can get special plastic just from a cake decorating store like this one. Now the idea of this is that it sits on top of your moulding paste and keeps it nice and moist so that you can use it again in a few minutes. It's not going to dry out too quickly while you've got the plastic on top of it. Now the next thing you're going to need is a rolling pin, and this rolling pin is made out of acrylic as well, so it's non-stick just like the board is, and that means that you're able to easily roll out your moulding paste and it'll be nice and flat and it won't stick to the rolling pin at all. The next thing you're going to need is, of course, the moulding paste. Now some people call this modelling paste or sugar gum paste. Now you can buy this ready-made in a cake decorating store, or you can make your own. Now on my website I've got the best recipe that I've ever used for making your own modelling paste, and it's very cheap and inexpensive to make. So later on in another video I'll show you how to make your own modelling paste. Otherwise, if you're happy to use the commercially produced modelling paste, that's fine too. Now one of the most important ingredients that I've ever come across is Tylose. Now we call that Tyler-Per in Australia, but in some countries you'll refer to it as Tylose. And what it is, it's a drying agent. So if you sprinkle some of this in your plastic icing or your modelling paste, it will make everything dry just that little bit faster. Now the other thing I use it for is to make my flower glue. Now some people do tend to use egg white, but I use Tylose with water. Now it's about 1/2 teaspoon to about 35 to 40 mils. And all you need that for is to attach everything. Basically, you can attach your wires and your stamens to your flowers so that they're nice and firm. Okay, another thing you're going to need is a selection of small paintbrushes. Now, I don't have any particular brush for any particular purpose. However, this brush is what I do use to basically dust the flowers with petal dust. Then you just need a selection of other brushes for things like royal icing and just dusting your cake board down before you ice it, for attaching the flower glue to the flowers, but you don't want to use the same brush for the same purpose. So it's a good idea to have a selection of different brushes. A very small palette brush. Now this is essential. This is one of the tools that you can't do without. So they're very easily purchased from a cake decorating shop. The thing you're going to need that is also essential is a pair of long nose tweezers. Now these help you to pick the flowers up and to move them around and to bend wires and all sorts of things so that you can more easily handle the flowers when they're still wet. Now the next thing you're going to need is a selection of ball tools. You can buy these in a set commercially produced like these, or you can make them yourself, or you can buy them separately. Now obviously the large ball tools are for shaping the larger flowers, whereas the smaller ones are for the smaller flowers. Now I've made some extra small ones because I make some extra small flowers to fill in the gaps. They're commonly referred to as filler flowers, and it's because they do fill in the gaps. So Like I said, you can get them commercially or you can make them yourself. I just used a chopstick here that I broke into half, and I have glued and pushed some pinheads into the top of it. The next thing you're going to need is some florist parafilm. Now this is just a tape, it's like a crepe, and it is kind of sticky, but what you use this for is to cover any stems of the flowers so that they're all the same colour. Speaking of wire, you can get different gauges of wire and different colours of wire, and these are very important because you can then tape and wire several flowers together and make them look as realistic as possible. It also helps you to achieve different heights for your flowers so that you can get a little bit of movement happening on your cake. Now, one of the cheapest things, this is actually a stocking, and it's filled with potato flour. You can get potato flour from a health food shop, but what I use this for is to dust down the board so that the modelling paste definitely doesn't stick to it, and it makes it easy to roll it out. Potato flour seems to blend in very nicely. It's completely edible, and it just prevents your modelling paste from drying out too quickly. The next thing you're going to need is a selection of stamens. These are the parts that go in the middle of the flower, and they then become, I don't know if you can see them very clearly. Let's try and put something behind them. They've got a little head on the top that is very, very similar to the middle of a flower. And what you do is you basically poke them down the middle of the flower with glue, and once they're dry, you can attach a wire underneath the flower into the bottom part of the stamen, and that ensures that you can actually wire them into a sprig if you want to. Or each video, I'm going to show you how to do something different. And in the coming weeks, I'm going to show you how to make a small 6-petal blossom. Now, obviously, these do come in different sizes, and that's always handy when you're doing a sprig of flowers, because you never see a sprig with the same size from the bottom to the top. You always see a bud, and then some small flowers, and then some larger flowers. So to graduate them when you wire them together is ideal. So this will be one of the first cutters that I use, and that's just called a hyacinth cutter. This is called a jasmine cutter, and I'll be also doing that in the coming weeks as well. Now, one of the other things that you will find important to have are these, and these are acrylic stands, and what you do is you put your flowers in there once you've moulded them so that they can dry and they can keep their shape. This is obviously for very small flowers, and this one is for small, medium and large flowers. Now, these can be quite expensive to buy. I think in Australia they retail for around about $25 and $35 each. However, you can make your own with just a block of wood on a stand and drill some holes and route them so that they are the right shape.